You gotta get going with the series, Sipo. This is the only, most popular series on this channel.
No way, I'm not doing that shit. Wait, why is your hair wet?
Oh, I was out in the rain getting some lunch, you know.
Pizza?
Rabbits.
Are we being dubbed right now?
Of course not. We both speak English and our mouths are doing English. Don't be silly. Stop avoiding the series.
I'll do it, but only if there isn't a rape in the movie.
There isn't a rape in the movie.
Now, Cannibal Holocaust is like, you know, like here's Casablanca, here's Cannibal Holocaust. Like it has become over time the gold standard for like, it's like the ultimate outlaw horror movie. There is no close second.
Let's just go. Directed by Italian film director Ruggero Deodato. It's never Mike Smith that directs these movies, is it? Also known as Monsieur Cannibal amongst French moviegoers. French moviegoers. Why is it that I'm not surprised that somehow in this series I have to talk about France? This is considered to be one of his most notable and controversial films, for reasons we'll go into. Hello one, hello all, I am CP. Welcome to this edition of Who Would Like That? Today's film is Cannibal Holocaust. Harold Monroe is an anthropologist from NYU who leads a rescue team into the Amazon rainforest to locate a crew of filmmakers. The crew had gone missing while filming a documentary on local cannibal tribes. When the rescue team is only able to recover the crew's lost cans of film, an American television station wishes to broadcast the footage as a sensationalized television special. Upon viewing the reels, Monroe is appalled by the team's actions and objects to the station's intent to air the documentary. So, to a bit of the backstory to the film itself. Apparently, Deodato, if I'm not saying that right, by all means correct me. He was inspired to make the movie after previous films were censored to all hell. Meanwhile, news broadcasts showed graphic deaths and terrorism, you name it, and he figured, why not get to know the people behind these sensationalized stories? Which, of course, brings us here to Cannibal Holocaust. You have to remember that news in the late 70s, they were only just removed from the Jonestown massacre, which in parts was filmed, so I mean you can kind of understand where he's coming from. It's kind of like if somebody wanted to capitalize on, I don't know, reality television today. I've asked around if this movie is considered giallo films, and people I've asked have been kind of shocked and said, no, why? And the one thing that jumps out to me is the bizarre giallo-esque dubbing. You have people speaking English, and they're being dubbed in English poorly.
What an excellent guide you are. You're gonna take all this with you in the jungle? Yes. Well, forget it. Damn you! Wanna fight, huh?
But what's funny is that the Foley work is actually, considering the mishmash of the dubbing, the Foley work is actually decent, if not uneven.
A skunk must have missed that.
Our film crew meets up with Lou Gossett Jr. Our film crew meets up with Apollo Creed's manager.
One more round.
Our film crew meets up with black guy out of Central Casting in the early 80s. We get a tour with the locals. And, oh boy, that guy's, and he's got a woman tied up. Maybe she just doesn't have a wheelchair and she needs help being carried around, and oh no, he's tying her up. And we have a rape. Ritualistic, I guess, still rape. The low-angle shot of this dude with his handheld Lexington steel can be misinterpreted as a hero shot. Mudman has his way with the young lady and then beats her over the head to kill her. I don't understand why not just kill her first and then do whatever you want to the body. I mean, they're within minutes of each other. Why? Oh, and like an old newspaper, simply loads the woman in a boat and disposes of her.
I'm finished with this guy.
The one common factor of all of these movies has been rape. I think we should just rename this series at this point. What you might have a problem with, animal cruelty is a part of this film to multiple animals. There are edited cuts of the film that reduce some of this, but doesn't completely take out these scenes. So at the very least, it's got to be difficult for somebody who's PETA friendly, vegan. I don't know. This movie's difficult to get through without that stuff. With it, it's when you know that it's a real live living thing and there's no effects work. It's just death. That's, like reason one why somebody wouldn't even turn this thing on. With the other acts of violence, you could at least tell yourself it's fine. It's fiction. Nobody's really hurt. Just corn syrup. But there's no argument here. Genuine animal cruelty, rape, multiple acts of murder, multiple acts of cannibalism, duh. And then it really gets deplorable towards the end where everybody's just fucking disrespecting everybody. This movie seems to be on the Salo level of, why do you need this in this movie? Especially considering he was, trying to fool people into thinking that this was real footage. I guess because people bought it, I don't know, mission accomplished, but I don't know. Is there a place for this? I guess what I could say is if you're curious about the movie but are guarded, may I suggest the Eli Roth tribute homage to this film titled Green Inferno, which is the first documentary crew. Green Inferno, which is very Eli Roth-y with its bizarre tone. But if you can get through that, that's nowhere near as bad as this movie. The artistic merit is... I get your point. Media's fucked up, but there's a lot of other ways around this. Again, you got to put yourself in that late 70s mindset. It was just a different environment for a ton of different reasons. Does that make it better? No. When was the last time we banned a movie for something? As for the conditions on set, the conditions were not optimal. The director apparently was treating members of the crew quite poorly. And I guess technically a turtle is a member of the crew in this film, so it's right there in the film. At the very least, he wasn't treating the animals right. In an interview, Gabriel York drew the line at participating in the pig scene, as it was the first time that it actually registered to him that the animals were in fact being killed. But the director would argue that this further proves his point that people are more concerned about animals than they are about humans dying in films. But the counter argument to his argument, of course, being you fictionalized the deaths of humans, you didn't fictionalize the death of animals. The for the love of the art thing, come on. Well, as far as cinematography, the movie clearly goes out of its way to seem authentic. Cinema verite techniques were used to create something that felt real, especially in later scenes with the found footage where two cameras were used at all times, putting the other camera in shot and switching between the two when necessary. Other realistic details include switching from a 35mm for the first half to a 16mm for the found footage. And a further step to help the authenticity, the 16mm footage has this beat up, scratched up look to it. And this, of course, was done to convince audiences that it was real. You have shaky cam going on too, which is quite effective for nearly 40 years ago now. Audiences back then wouldn't have been used to this and certainly wouldn't expect it from major motion pictures. As a matter of fact, if anything, the way it's edited in the second half is probably meant to feel jarring. At the beginning, there's a completely peaceful shot of the Amazon rainforest from above, which could have been used to establish remoteness, as in, you wouldn't want to get in trouble out here because nobody's coming to get you. It's then contrasted with the more civilized, dense New York City. So Cannibal Holocaust is arguably social satire, turning moral expectations on their heads. Monroe sums it up with a final line,
I wonder who the real cannibals are.
ironic coming from Richard Bolla, an ex-porn star. He's the voice of reason in all this. Much of what the natives do is purely for survival, and much of it comes from a lack of understanding. However, the original film crew knowingly commit terrible acts to make better footage. The TV execs are more than happy to use their footage out of context because they know it to be spectacular. The message here is that, according to media, the authenticity of a film is not as important as making great television. So, how shocking is this film, relatively speaking? Well, to compare this film to the other films in the Who Would Like That series, it certainly checks all the boxes. And then some. Rape, murder, torture, cannibalism, cruelty to animals. Hey, we got a new one for this episode. The good news is nobody's forced to eat shit. Silver lining? Unlike the other films I've covered in this series, this movie goes out of its way to make you think that the deaths are real, animals and humans. The actors signed a contract saying that they wouldn't be able to be seen publicly for about a year following the release of the film, which got the director in trouble. It was that convincing. This movie was the Blair Witch Project about 20 years before the Blair Witch Project. There's certainly stuff that's difficult to watch. I mean, it wouldn't be Who Would Like That if we didn't have stuff like that. The killing of the adulteress in the tribe is certainly difficult to watch, but it does have a point. Initially, it's to see the tribes as deplorable savages. The animal cruelty scenes are just absolutely difficult to watch. There is an edited cut where they have made certain cuts of the film. The infamous turtle scene is reduced, although knowing what happens to the turtle, I'm not going to tell you that you're completely cleared of the effects of some of these acts. There's still traces. I mean, they left the beginning and end parts of the turtle scene there. For as much credit as the Blair Witch Project gets in its marketing campaign, you can't help but think, if the internet existed when Cannibal Holocaust came out, it would probably be the same thing. As far as the series question as to who would like that, I don't know if like is a word I'd use. Nudity enthusiasts should be happy to know that there is an equal dick to tit ratio in this movie. You're seeing, if you don't like nudity, this is we'll start there. This is not your movie. But if you want to see some dong in your horror, this may be up there. You're gonna have to sidestep a couple of rapes and some murder, like literal murder, decapitation. But I mean, if you're willing to sit through that to see a floppy dong, then congratulations, here's your movie. If you're interested in cannibal movies, this has got to be the leader at the forefront of films you're going to want to check out. If you're into Faces of Death, I'll keep bringing up Faces of Death, it seems like every episode here. But if you're into that, this is kind of the same shit. The story isn't very solid. Again, done a bit better with a bit more. I mean, the Eli Roth Green Inferno is very similar and has almost similar messages, a little bit more geared towards college kids in the Green Inferno movie than in Cannibal Holocaust. Green Inferno kind of takes aim at college kids and their worthy causes and kind of gets it and nails that point. But yeah, I wasn't alive during the Cannibal Holocaust and what the media environment was back then, but I don't know if you were around for news stories like this maybe to see art imitate life. I don't know how else to explain what is good about this movie. Does it have artistic merit? Apparently. Could they have avoided a hell of a lot of shit that was done in this movie? Absolutely. I just want to thank you guys for taking this ride with me. In the last year, the most popular series on this channel, and by a long shot, has been Who Would Like That? You're speaking loud and clear, and I'm going. It takes me a while to get through some of these. This is a chore. But if you appreciate these videos, I'm not saying if you like the content within the videos, but if you think I should keep going and you appreciate what's being done here, there's plenty of ways to help me out and let me know. Comment down below, click that thumbs up, subscribe if you enjoyed the series and you haven't subscribed yet. And perhaps you want to see something else, like me not talking about rape. And if you really enjoy what's happening here and you want to contribute to future work, I do have a Patreon. That link will be down below. So this has been episode 5 of Who Would Like That? Cannibal Holocaust. Thank you so much for checking in. I'm gonna go wash everything and double rinse my eyes. I've been CP. Have a day. I could just make ranking videos. I'll just make ranking videos. Ending explained. I'll do ending explained videos. Anything. Kinder Egg surprise YouTube. Keemstar reaction videos. That'll get views, right? You keep watching. And I keep doing this. Somebody help me.